Hello out there, and today we're taking a look at the Bestech Starfighter. And first and foremost, I have to thank my buddy Stasa23 for sending this knife my way and giving me the opportunity to handle a Bestech for the first time. So he gave this to me on loan for me to check out and review, and yeah, I've just been really surprised at the level of quality that Bestech is putting out. You know, I've seen some reviews about Bestech knives, and I've heard about some of the models, but didn't know that they were performing on this level. So again, my thanks to Stasa. I will link to his channel down below, but I'm guessing you probably already follow him. One other knife that he did send me was the Grampus, another Bestech, and I do have a focus video about this model coming relatively soon, but I will talk about it at the end of the knife video today when I talk about pricing, because right now the Grampus is available on Massdrop at a pretty good discount, so I want to refer you that way if you're interested. But for now, let's bring it back and focus on the Starfighter. And this is a knife, again, that was just a level of quality that I wasn't expecting. And it starts with the packaging, you know, always does. The first impression is the packaging, and Bestech has gone the route with their more high-end stuff, it seems, that Kaiser and We has done with this nice zippered pouch. You know, you have your polishing cloth, your plastic baggie in here. So really nice, just a really nice start and a good first impression there. And then talking about the knife, it is just a really unique piece. And as interesting and different as it is in terms of looks, it's actually just as good functionally, which was another big surprise. What we have is a blade length here of about 3.375 inches. It is S35VN. Let me bring out a couple size comparison knives. I didn't really prepare, I guess, as well as I should have. You know, here is the Spyderco Native 5 that I've been carrying a lot lately. Let's see what else. I do have a mini Griptilian on the table, so you can see that. All right, if you are familiar with the Grampus or other Bestech knives, here it is next to the Grampus. And why not Paramilitary 2? Actually, a very good size comparison there. A very good size comparison. All right, so 3.375 inches, S35VN. Definitely not going to complain about the steel. If you follow me, you know that it's not my favorite steel, but for EDC purposes, it's great. You know, it's a good high-end steel, and when I nitpick between S35VN and other, you know, premium steels, that's what it is. It's a nitpick. So S35VN performs well. It's a lot of people's favorites for good reason. So yeah, definitely no complaints there. When we're looking at the blade, we have some really nice qualities here. We have a nice satin flat and then a stonewash on the actual grind and the swedge. So that's really nice. The one thing when it comes to the look of the blade that I'm not the biggest fan of is the big blocky printing of Starfighter right there on the middle of the blade. And usually I'm the guy who likes the logos. You know, I like logos. I like to see the maker's mark. I like to see the steel. I don't mind when that stuff is printed, you know, on the knife. But I think for a piece that's this classy and this sleek, I think that the word Starfighter there just sort of pulls you out of the rest of the package, if that makes sense. So I wish they hadn't done that, but otherwise the look of the knife is just really excellent. You know, you do have a nice, you know, functional tip for piercing. You have a ramp with the jimping that makes it actually very comfortable and functional in hand. The forward choil here is just big enough, you know, created by the flipper, that you could choke up and use it safely. And so, you know, if you're careful, you know, this kind of grip here works just fine. So overall, the blade looks good and it's functional. That's really all you can ask for. And then as we start to move on back, let's talk about this titanium frame. Whew, man, it is something different, isn't it? It just has a whole lot going on. And anytime I see something like this, I always think about form over function. I mean, there's no way that this is a functional kind of design. It's just, you know, meant for looks and for flash and has nothing behind it, right? Maybe. We'll get to that. But let's just talk about that form first. Let's talk about the look of it. The bronze and the blue, the first thing I like about it is it really is reminiscent of a Starfighter, of some kind of like sci-fi kind of uniform or helmet that you'd see out of like something in Battlestar Galactica. You know, it just seems like it fits the name of the knife, and I really like that. I really like how we have the color, you know, matching on the clip and on this ano over here. And then the bronze, if you can see, and you probably won't be able to catch it in the light, but every now and then I do get a little bit of like a flash of purple or red in there. So it just has a lot of depth to it, and a lot of that won't show up on camera. So I'm impressed with the look of the knife. It really might not be my style, but it's done really well. Really well. So kudos as far as that goes. As we move on back, you can see we have generally an open frame because the backspacer here is near the very butt of the knife. The pocket clip is one position. It is tip up. It is very solid, even though it's held in by only one screw. So it's a good little clip here. One thing, I got a comment just the other day that I am the only YouTube reviewer who opens and closes a knife just once over the course of a review. And guys, I forget about it sometimes. If I'm not doing a full review and I'm not talking about action, sometimes I just forget that stuff. So if there's ever anything that you want to see or anything that I'm, you know, lacking on, let me know, because a lot of the stuff is just absent-minded and it's not, you know, intentional. So yeah, definitely need to open and close knives a little bit more, show you knives in the closed position better, just to give you an opportunity to soak it all in, that is for sure. And we definitely want to do that on this knife because it is so unique when it comes to that. And now let's talk about some ergos. Let's talk about the ergos because so much is going on with the look of the knife, and this is where it really, really starts to tie together and become an impressive piece for me. Ergonomically, the knife, like I said, you can choke up, but just in every facet, the ergos are impressive. And maybe I'm looking too deeply into the construction of the knife, and maybe a lot of what I'm seeing was unintentional, but all of this machining and all of these little shapes and everything that they've done, it all works. Because when you have the knife in your hand, you know, you have a nice point of contact right here where this lip is, with your forefinger, telling you exactly where you are holding the knife. Again, maybe it's something that was not intentional and it just happened to work out that way, but it helps. It's just a nice indicator to where you have your hand on the knife. It's perfect, and it works. It's comfortable. It's not sharp. It's, yeah, exactly what I would want the ergos to be. Furthermore, all of this machining right here, you know, while it might just be for show, when you have the knife in your pocket and you're pulling it out, where's your thumb hitting as you pull the knife out? Right here on this machining. So, you know, while it does seem to be, you know, at first look, just a lot of form and not function, everything that they're doing here is actually very functional. So, impressed with that, you know, and I like the way that that's worked out. Here in the back, we have a really odd lanyard hole. You could, I guess, feed a lanyard through here. I like that they didn't, you know, drill it into the titanium, though. They sort of put it into the backspacer, so it's there if you need it. I wouldn't need it, and this kind of lanyard hole doesn't, like, disrupt the look of the rest of the knife. So, great job with that. I wish they had kept that idea when they, you know, printed the word Starfighter on the blade, but whatever. Furthermore, when we're talking about lockup, let's take a look at the lockup and our stainless steel interface here. I've seen a lot of stainless steel interfaces on knives. I've seen them done really well. I've seen them done somewhat poorly. The thing that I like the most about this one is that you can barely see that it's there. I mean, it's so flush. It's in there. The contact is great. So very well done there. You know, one screw holding that, and we have the over travel stop for the frame lock as well. So that's good. Taking a look at the lockup, it's exactly where I'd want it to be. Up and down were pretty much perfect. Left and right were good, but I did, just over the course of flipping it and using it, it seems like they didn't Loctite the pivot very much because this did start to loosen. And I did have concern that maybe the pivot wouldn't be a very good quality, and you can see it's not a Torx pivot. So, you know, you need like a flathead screwdriver. And even though this little Dremel bit here, it doesn't really fit in there perfectly, it was able to turn the pivot easily and adjust it, and it didn't like ding up the actual pivot itself. So the pivot, even though it looks like it might be an issue, is not at all. It worked out just fine. And it's classy, good looking pivot, nice pivot ring, again matching with the colors. So another thing to be impressed about. What about action? So obviously with a knife of this caliber, we are running on bearings. It flips nicely. Manual flipper, flips nicely. I guess I'll pick up the camera just to show this from a different angle. A little bit blurry, but it's smooth, but it's not perfectly smooth. Functional though, and yeah, it works. I don't know that I would necessarily expect it to be perfectly like able to drop shut, and it's close, but it's not quite there. So yeah, good action, good flipping. I'm always one that I would like thumb studs, maybe a little bit stronger detent to make the knife fly out a little bit better, but those are all little nitpicky things. Overall though, guys, hopefully I've gotten the point across that this is a really classy, interesting, different looking knife, but in every level, it seems to function nicely as well. So the suggestion, the recommendation for this, I mean, this would be an EDC knife. Be a good EDC knife. You know, it fits really well in the hand, like I said, multiple grip configurations. The jimping is good. This is a good user, but it doesn't look like a user. So the marketplace for this knife might be a little bit small, because if you bought this knife, you might not want to be the guy who's out there beating on it, just because it seems almost more like a work of art than it does just a good EDC tool. But like I said, functionally, I think it would be an excellent EDC tool. It's just, would you want it to be that? And that's what's going to lead me into the price point of this knife. The price of this knife is $196. All right, $196 is pretty steep. And since I had no experience with Bestech, when I first unboxed this knife, I got to tell you, I used it for a hot minute. I was carrying it around, and then I just did a guess in my head. What would be a good price for this knife? And I said 140 bucks. And then I looked it up, and when I saw 196, I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Bestech is playing on a different level, and their expectation is really high. And then as I used the knife and, you know, started to get a feel for it, you know, I started to see the value. You know, you see the value in the construction, you see the value in the quality, the machining, you see value, and I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but look at the machining on the inside of the titanium. I mean, that's titanium that they milled out. You know, it's not liners. So they milled out the frame. So lots of little bits of steps that go towards making a real quality piece. I'm sorry I didn't do this earlier, but let's just take a look at the weight since we were talking about that milling. 4.25 ounces. I mean, it's not bad. It could be a whole lot heavier, you know, for how thick the titanium is. But again, they did that milling. They've taken a lot of extra steps, and I see value here at $196. The question is, does it fit what you need at that price point? Like, what do you want a knife for? Because this seems to be more of a collector's piece, like, even though it's going to be functional. So again, just one of those questions you'd have to ask yourself. Now, the good news when it comes to Bestech is that there are a lot of deals going on for their knives constantly. You know, you can find their knives at a lot better prices in a number of places. And sorry, I'm looking for the Grampus right now. I know I just had it on the table at the beginning of the video, but this knife and the Grampus are both available at discounted rates depending on where you look. The Grampus right now is on Mass Drop for $36 when usually it costs $52. So, you know, this knife at $36, it's a steal. I'm going to talk about it at length in a future video, but definitely you can get this knife at a very good price and have a great beater knife in D2 steel for 40 bucks. I mean, 36 plus shipping. That's excellent. And so my suggestion would be, if you were to look for this knife for long enough, this might pop up on Massdrop or maybe at some other secondary website at a discount. My guess is that if you are patient enough, you'll be able to find this knife for less than $196. And if I'm to pick it up and get it permanently, that's probably what I would do. You know, I would try to find it in the $140, $150 range at some point, even if it's used. You know, I don't know that I'm spending $196 on this because I don't have a need in my collection for something like this. But what I will say, if you are the person who saw this knife on video, in this video, and you said, this is an excellent looking knife, I love it, I really want to have it, if you spend $196 on this, I don't necessarily think you'll be disappointed. So that's my recommendation, that, you know, depending on who you are, it might be perfect for you, it might not. Guys, again, like I said, there is a full devoted video to the Grampus coming relatively soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that if you want to hear more. If you don't need to, slide right on over, pick it up on Massdrop now. All right, so that's all I got, guys. Any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know down below. But overall, pretty impressed with this model. My thanks again to Stasa. He's doing a great job over there on his channel and just really generous with the way he is loaning a lot of stuff out to people in the community to check out. So thanks again to him, and I will talk with you all soon. Have a good one.